So, let me just paint you this. Digital horror, the lingering subgenre long familiar to the deep depths of the internet that's been slowly bubbling its way back into the online conscience in recent years. Perhaps there's an element of wrongness to be felt, a particular early web-based theme or form to inject, but the one constant across all the most effective examples I've engaged in? Childhood fear and the media that preys on that, feasting on the pieces of the internet you couldn't understand as a kid. Maybe you're overwhelmed by a strange and invasive pop-up ad, or you found a browser game you maybe shouldn't be accessing at your age. And enough exploration in all the wrong places might lead you to the perfect recipe for a nightmare, and that nightmare's here to say a few words in person today. Open parentheses, lost media found, close parentheses, FNaF fake game video found, posted by FDT, aka Fever Dreamer Team, on January 22nd, 2024's not much of a video on its own, encouraging us to head off-site to archive.org. So, Five Nights at Freddy's Ransomware, open parentheses, infected pirated version found, close parentheses, open bracket 7x.org, close bracket, posted January 10th, 2024, begins with a classic early YouTube notepad communicated proclamation of ownership of a free version of Five Nights at Freddy's over a Windows 7 desktop, a bouncy, era-appropriate Nyan Cat remix to accompany. And upon booting up the file, we're met with a "yeah, something's already wrong. Five Nights of Freddy. He's usually there, yeah." Before the mood snaps, disrupted by a warning card written in broken English. The main menu then drops into frame, a blistering, screaming noise loop to boot, and yet another distorted Freddy Fazbear rendered a face with the game's true name of Fide Night at Fready's Sedys tweaking out in the corner. The rest of the video is filled with total nonsense of a similar caliber, leading us into night one with Is Sin 1, 823. Well, let me double check my Bible. But there's something uncomfortable about the office. The darkness cuts deep into the corners of the room, rattled by an impossibly loud mechanical fan. Viewing the cameras does nothing but run the shadows deeper each time you return, the only accessible feed pitting you against yet another strange visualization of Freddy, peering into the lens with seldom any remaining feeds to gaze upon. Lacking a defense mechanism, he storms his way into you, killing the run with a distorted jump scare and a flash. And after a few screens of text encouraging you to pay for the pirated copy, the game crashes, leaving us in the inky dark of the PC. Now free from the wrath of the program, the system seems to restart on its own, before flipping back to... So yeah, a little bit abnormal. Incomprehensible, freaky garbage like this is something the internet's drawn to like Fready's is to Sedys. So it's totally no wonder it popped off a tad, not unlikely due to the sheer weirdness of the thing. The remixed visuals, the fake Bible quotes, the bewildering lack of any grammatical sense, the repetition of a constantly shifting URL for 7x.org and all associated variants, Freddy's inconsistent and endlessly morphing character details, hell, the fact that Freddy is the only animatronic you ever see in the game. And, of course, that final frame, messy with threats, muddy with intention. You can glean the idea that as goofy as this shit might come across, there's a real inherent deep-seated stash of anxieties to be poked at here, of finding that weird corner of the web as a kid and failing to comprehend what you're really seeing. And this thing does capitalize on that niche in a real funky way. This thing supposedly ransomware after all, and a scary pop-up screen demanding your ass fork over the dough to get your shit back is a kind of digital horror I've never actually encountered. It's a low-key fantastic premise. I would also imagine that, yeah, you probably would recall reading long strings of text as a little squishlet and interpreting the words as nothing but central. Warning, this game contained flashing, lights, jump scares, loud audio, and loud please take advisory. Yeah, I'm always saying that. And that strange final form, huh? Yeah, arguably the most unsettling Freddy, even appearing in a glimpse right at the beginning, like the game's foreshadowing his presence. And while elements like that do imply a sense of coherence across the video, I'd argue that while any art can be subject to sifting through and interpreting to your pulsating heart's content, analyzing those things like analyzing a tin of beans, everything's too nonsensical to make sense of outside of, haha, Freddy doesn't look like that. He's missing his microphone. Yeah, now it's okay. Almost like this ain't nothing but the recollection of a hazy FNAF-themed bite-sized dream. Mostly because it, what? Yeah, directly from the creator themselves, this video is nothing more than a translation of a nightmare, and boy does that explain a whole lot. Even the fact that it was originally taken down from YouTube under the false impression that the video existed to spread a real malware link feels like a strange, dreamlike creepypasta element. The free FNaF ransomware so scary it was stricken from the site. That adds to the atmosphere for me. Though, dream or not, the first Freddy's game, I'd argue, is the perfect goddamn candidate for twisting into a piece of modern digital horror. I've always felt that that original game exhibited a very specific aura, like that of a seedy, crunchy old-ass CD-ROM point-and-click, so for what it's worth, a Five Nights at Freddy's themed virus as a basis for someone spooky works crazy well in concept. In concept, yeah, in addition to the collective praise the thing received, it was widely critiqued for, get ready for it, it's a tad scary. The production and/or use of AI generated images is definitely a conversation to be had in and of itself. Who am I kidding? It's unleashed a plague on society. However, I'm not gonna sit here and bark at some random dude I don't know for using generative AI and not even all of the final video, especially with how accessible prompting a network to cook you up an amalgamation is in the era of our overlord 2024. Instead, I want to make a point. Yume Nikki and LSD Dream Emulator, both games I've dabbled in to various extents, both with decades-old cult followings that are both arrangements of peculiar contemporary art based on real dream diaries. Though while I'd argue LSD more so, they both give me that familiar, instinctually creepy feeling I get from media like the FNaF Ransomware video, proving that, yeah, it is absolutely possible to produce unsettling creations reflective of one's dreams and nightmares without the use of AI. And I get it, right? It's the instant gratification convenience factor, but getting creative and recreating your own dreams yourself is something I'll always prefer. Your dreams aren't randomly generated after all, they come from you, and what better way to translate your dreams into art than to carve them the best way you know how. But, actually, you just won't be able to make something as strange as what an AI could spit out. And yeah, point taken. Counterpoint. Yeah, you're shitting yourself, right? Yeah, with nothing but blood, sweat, grease, and a strange sticky black liquid, I spent a little time recreating the video's standout Fazbear variation to a generally positive reaction, thank you. That's right, not a lick of AI in this baby, just some good old-fashioned, yard-grown, home-cooked Photoshop/Paint.net/Blender. All intuitive programs with a slew of documentation, available totally for free. Yeah, no, I double checked. You can get every single one of them for free. But hey, for what it's also worth, I don't even think all of the Fazbear variations are fully AI. The final one, for instance, that specific color contrast, the removal of Freddy's freckles, the line drawn into the muzzle, these are all pretty specific details that look manually edited to me. The only part that blatantly screams AI, the outpainted torso, based on this one rare screen, the same I used to get a pretty similar result. But Gomo, there's a fair point to be made that in recreating the AI output, you're just proving you still need it as a basis to make something spooky. Second counterpoint, I'm evidently not the only one inspired by the idea of a spooky-ass scam virus though, the FNaF Ransomware edit subgenre spiraling off into a spin-off of the more general creepy anti-piracy screen trend from a few years back. Pretty impressively, all of them stemming from the one original video in this case, clearly proving popular enough to garner FNaF Ransomware concepts in the dozens, ranging from fully fledged videos to custom ransomware-inspired OCs and fan art of the original video, even down to a freaking playable recreation that somebody made that is basically a PowerPoint presentation of an interactive experience, but still. And while a lot of it is pretty derivative, it does show that there's kind of an untapped market in this half anti-piracy, half traditional digital horror type sandwich, and when it works, it freaking works. But I don't want to get it twisted, right? In an ideal world, public access to AI image generation tools would not be super readily available, or at the very least, heavily mandated. The mass scraping of art being left in the dark on what most of these models are trained of, even just in this specific context, it's not something I really agree with. A sentiment I'm not alone in. And especially with the FNaF ransomware trend and associated products gaining traction, I don't want to perpetuate the idea of messing with that stuff. Instead, I want to push for the advocacy of getting your hands dirty and building a creepy scam video from the ground up. Seriously. Don't be afraid to model, sculpt, paint, edit, liquefy, bit crush, cause the end result's always gonna be worth so much more. You wouldn't want to be accused of stealing now, would you? Holy shit, I just fell asleep staring at a bear infestation again. I hate when that happens. What? Oh, hey, Commotion Dog. What are you doing here, you crazy rascal? Oh, shit.